Oh, it's not counting.
Yes.
Right, this hangout on air is live. I'm Rebecca Bradley, this is Crime Book Club, and it is the, what date are we on? Not very organised, the 17th of December 2014, and this is the last book club meeting of 2014. And this month we're discussing the Ho 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 Mysteries by Bob Burke. And I take it you both read them, read it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It was, after the last book I read for book club, it was really heavy. This was very, very, very light, quite humorous at places when it took the mickey out of CSI and various other TV programs, and I just flew through it really. But it's not my normal type of read. I prefer something a bit more gritty. But I did enjoy it.
What about you, Margot?
Well, I had almost exactly the same reaction as Stephanie. I wasn't prepared to like it as much as I did because I thought, well, this is going to be twee, and that's not really my thing. But it was the humor and the really snarky, sarcastic comments here and there that kind of made it for me. Plus, I have to say this, I like Rudolph's character.
Yes. That word twee, that's kind of what I expected as well, a twee read, but it had a kind of 1950s smoky feel about it, with the way the protagonist Harry Pig spoke and narrated the way through it, and I kind of liked that feel of narration through it, and I think that's what kept my interest in it, was the narrative style of it.
Yeah, he was sort of paying homage to those sort of noir 50s sorts of stories. And I thought it was a really interesting stroke by the author to use these imaginary fairy tale characters. Not just the Santa Claus North Pole characters, but you know, Jack Horner and those other characters. And I thought, well, yeah, it reminded me a bit of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Have you ever seen that film?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I see that, because it was bizarre reading something in that style, but it being about Santa Claus, Jack Horner. The protagonist was a pig. He was holding on, and he genuinely was a pig. He was holding on to the sleigh with his trotters. So every opportunity, he made it clear that he was actually a pig. So it was kind of bizarre.
You seem to read the same sentence twice. Did I read that right? Did I read trotters? It's hands.
How can he hold on with his trotters?
You have to sort of let your disbelief go somewhere else when you read, just because he's a pig and he's doing these things, and because Mrs. Claus and this whole thing of everybody goes to sleep for 25 years or whatever, or not sleep, but stopping time.
Yes.
You have to set your disbelief aside, but if you can do that, I thought the narrative style helped, and I thought things flowed smoothly. I understood, okay, they're doing this, they're in the sleigh, they're having this meeting, I didn't have trouble picking up where I was supposed to be and who was doing what.
And I think he set it up from the start very, very well with his narrative style. From the minute he started the book with the meeting with Mrs. Claus, about the way she was sat in the chair and this big woman in this red outfit in this chair, it just set up the tone of his narrative style perfectly, and it just pitched the book the way that it was going to be and the way that you were going to read it, and it was straight in there for your expectations for the rest of the book, and I just thought he set it up perfectly. So you weren't straight into the action. There wasn't a murder, as most crime novels you expect there to be. But he set the tone, didn't he, for the book?
And I think that's another thing that saved it from being twee for me was, no, there wasn't a murder, and, you know, how many hundreds of kids' books and films, oh, there won't be a Christmas, and it can be very twee. But this one, there was just that undercurrent because he was abducted. Santa, I mean, because, you know, there was just a little bit more meat to it.
Yeah. He set the tone, didn't he?
Exactly. And I think that's another thing that saved it from being twee for me was, no, there wasn't a murder, and, you know, how many hundreds of kids' books and films, oh, there won't be a Christmas, and it can be very twee. But this one, there was just that undercurrent because he was abducted. Santa,
Marco, why are you repeating?
You know, there was just a little bit more meat to it. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's another thing. Okay, I'm going to go out and come in again. For me was, no,
that was very bizarre.
Yeah. I could hear lots of background as well then. It was like...
I think she was going on to a second loop to say it all over again as well.
It sounded like back in the 80s when you could listen to somebody else's telephone call. It was strange.
Yeah. I don't know what happened then.
Yeah. And then it just blurred and she disappeared.
Yeah. Well, there's always some kind of issue, isn't there, when we're doing this?
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll be back.
I'm sure she will.
Because that was quite an interesting...
Yeah. You was in a rush to finish it, I saw on Twitter yesterday.
Yes, but I did see that I was getting through it quite quickly, so it was a short book.
Yeah.
Well, that was a very strange one, Margot.
It was, and I think I know what happened. I think it's because, well, this is just my theory. I think it's because I also had a window open for Google Plus and it echoed back.
Right.
But I'm back.
You had us confused. Me confused anyway.
I'm a professor. It's my job.
And I'm just easily confused.
And I'm so am I.
as we learn every month.
I can see Margot live video now as well. So.
Oh right, so I'm not moving, but Margot is.
Yeah.
Oh well. As long as you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I've forgotten what you were saying because you said it that many times, Margot.
I just said that one of the things that added to the book for me and prevented it from being twee was that there was this whole undercurrent because there was an abduction. Because there was this concern about his safety and so on. I felt like, okay, I can see why there would be a real fear there, and it just added a bit.
Yeah. And it wasn't until you said, before you started saying that there wasn't a murder, that I actually realised there wasn't a murder. And there are only a few crime novels that there isn't a murder in. And I know we had a discussion on the blog about this, about crime novels without murder in, and this was one of them. But it didn't detract at all.
No, it really didn't. And some of the characters really got me interested too. Like, I was interested in the character of Ali Baba.
Yes, with his 40 thieves and his magic carpet, when he abducted him.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him being a regular in that series, popping in and out for different reasons.
Yeah, I liked Vasily, the genie. He made me smile.
I wouldn't want to be his roommate, though.
No.
No, definitely not. No. It was an unusual one, and as you both said, the first things you said when you both started was you didn't expect to like it, and that was the way that I went into it as well. I didn't expect to like it, and it was really bizarre enjoying this really strange story that is classed as crime but had no murder, had a pig for a protagonist. We'd got an abducted Santa Claus, and yet I found myself enjoying it.
Yeah, and you can't really call it, in some ways it's not a kid's story, but in some ways it really is, and yet there are some things that are very irreverent, like the way Rudolph saves the day. And you think, well, that's, a certain kind of humor that I didn't expect in the book. He pulls from all sorts of different things, I think, to get this overall effect, if that makes any sense.
I think he takes a lot of adult themes and brings them in a certain way that is easy to read. So I don't particularly, I get it could be read by any age because it's not graphic, there's no bad language, but there's a lot in there that I don't think the kids would get if they read it, that is said in a way that we as adults of a certain era understood better. For instance, the CSI, the kids wouldn't understand that, or well, some of them wouldn't. So it was kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember that scene when Mrs. Claus gets very upset about losing her shoes.
Yes.
Because they're Manolos. And I think you're right, that's not something kids would understand. At the same time, they can certainly understand, the sleigh broke, it doesn't work, and if we find out that it was being serviced at the Sleigh Bells, then maybe, etc.
Yeah, I think you could hand it down to one of your kids, and they'd be able to read it and enjoy it for what they understood and they could take from it. But equally, adults could take a lot from it.
Disney has done that with some of its films, actually.
There's some adult lines in there that only adults can pick up on the Disney films. Yes,
and yet people take their children. I took my daughter to her first Disney film when she was 3. There was a lot she wouldn't have understood, and yet my husband and I were sitting there laughing at some of the clever lines, and she was looking at us like, this isn't funny, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, they do that, don't they? And they do it on such a level that it's not bad language and it's not smutty, but it's funny because we're old enough to understand it.
Exactly.
And the kids don't get it. So I did think it was really cleverly written, and I did enjoy the style of it. And it was a bizarre one to enjoy because of the protagonist and all the characters within it. I'm not sure I could have read it as a full-length novel.
No.
I looked on Goodreads and it was only 176 pages. So I'm not sure I could have read it as twice that length.
It was just about length, really. So,
yeah. And I'm trying to think if I could it would be a very difficult book, I think, for me to do a spotlight on or for blogs where there's reviews to do reviews on, because when you read the facts, you have people thinking, what on earth?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just want to say, no, go ahead, read the book. You'll see.
Yes. Yeah.
And
How
I
to
think it was,
convey that a book about a pig and Jeannie and Mrs. Claus is actually quite good. And for me, it was a narrative style of Harry. That what about it particularly, Margot, for you? What about it for you did it?
the wit.
The weight.
Yes. And I suppose that's also part of the narrative style. But the wit, that sometimes sarcastic, but not hurtful, but just sarcastic way of looking at everything, that kept me going right from the beginning.
And what about you, Steph? What particularly drew you to it?
I thought it was very clever. I can imagine it working now after a couple of weeks after I've read it as an animated film, where you've got the actual characters as the pig and the crane and everybody else that was in it. But it was just, I thought it was unique, really. And it was easy to read, it was easy to pick up and put down, and you could just probably do half a dozen things at the same time and just carry on from where you left off without having to read back. It was just clever. It's
been a really interesting one to do for the book club, because you wouldn't automatically pick it up, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I'd never would have seen it in the Kindle store, because I don't normally read Christmas stories.
Me either.
Yeah, so.
And I give him credit for innovation.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, I like it when authors do something that's not too out there, to innovate, to add something unique. And
not out there, Margot. We're talking about a pig.
Well, but it worked. Hey, the pig was still on the planet Earth. Okay, it wasn't that far out there.
It was only just on planet Earth.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. Somehow, it's a pig, but he made it. It was very innovative and unique, and that's sort of why. Yeah, it's a pig. But the way that things worked out in this story were things you can imagine. I mean, the narrative style, as you say, helped you sort of, okay, I'm in this sleigh, and I could easily fall out and become pig pizza, Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. And to get everybody on the same page in the group, actually really enjoying it, it's not very common in the book club for us all to actually say we really enjoyed this book, and to not pick anything up. Is there anything that you didn't like?
No.
Not really. I could have done with a few less references to the genie's personal habits, but, that's not a huge major complaint.
No. Yeah, it was an unusual pick and an unusual that we've all liked. We've all liked it. It's really surprised me this month. It's been a nice read, actually.
And a nice break between heavier, longer, more difficult, challenging novels, which are also good. But it's kind of nice sometimes to read just something fun and goofy, but still works.
Yes. Yeah.
And it has a pig.
And a pig. Would you read another one?
Yeah.
That's the test.
So.
Not right after.
No.
But yeah. Now I'm ready for something different, but yeah, I'd read another.
I think I would read another one. because I did like his style.
There's another couple, isn't there?
I think this was the second one. I think
Yeah,
there's,
yeah,
there's obviously the first one. I think
Yeah.
there was a third one.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a third one, yeah.
Mm.
But I do like, he has done amazingly well to get us to like a crime book about a pig
Without a murder.
without a murder. Yeah.
That was
That's some good going, that is. And it's not a surprise that we're low on the ground because anybody reading the blurb for the book could be put off from reading it, and maybe have thought, I don't fancy that really. But actually, it's turned out to be one of the more interesting reads. I think it's been, or one of the more surprising reads, actually. Anyway. So anything else?
No, not really.
Anybody's got on it? I think it's been an all-round book club hit. Would I be right?
Yes.
One of what they call a sleeper hit, something you do not expect.
Definitely. Yes. I don't know whether he's on Twitter, but I will. If he is, I'll link him into the blog post tomorrow. If not, I'll email him and let him know. You both voted for next month, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes.
The winning book is The Girl on the Stairs by Louise Welsh, then.
I voted for that one.
I think you both voted
Yeah.
for that one. And there was only one other vote, which was for something else, but as you're both here anyway, you both voted for that, and that's the one with most votes. So, The Girl on the Stairs. The next meeting is Wednesday, the 21st of January, 8 p.m. GMT as usual. Have a good Christmas.
And you?
Happy Christmas to
And,
both of you.
Happy New Year.
I'll see you next year.
See you next year. Yes. Thank you very much for coming this month anyway. And I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
Right
Thanks,
then.
Bo. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.